Welcome to Who Wrote That Up For You, a daily podcast that shines a light on the American justice system and its role in empowering the powerful to take from you. The justice system is the only branch of your government where an individual, rather than the collective, can make the system act for you. It puts power in the individual's hands, but it's broken and being used against you at a time when you need it most.
And we are live on Who Wrote That Up For You. Today is Monday, October 10th, 2022. I'm Sonia Ebron, a co-founder at Courtroom 5.
And I'm Deborah Sloan, the other co-founder at Courtroom 5.
We have a wonderful show for you today. In a few moments, we will speak with attorney Randolph Frails. He's the managing partner at Frails and Wilson law firm, operating out of Augusta, Georgia. He'll tell us about his firm, but also has some really good advice for people who are representing themselves in court. Before we get there, though, I want to just recognize, Deborah, you are in my seat. And that is because I am reaching you from Nashville, Tennessee, here for the American Legal Technology Awards, which we had last night. I was happy to serve as a judge for that event, and for CleoCon. Clio, as many lawyers listening know, is the biggest law firm practice management software tool and solution. And so they have an annual conference. We are meeting for the first time in, I think, a couple years from the pandemic. With the pandemic being somewhat in abeyance, we were able to gather here as a group. And so I'm enjoying the many folks at CleoCon. Just want to shout out to some friends that I've seen here over Zoom over the last couple of years and have finally been able to meet face to face. But with that, Deborah, what is our issue of the day? What's on your mind today?
Okay, first, this seat feels great. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the public defenders, and I read a report from out of Oregon, Multnomah County, about the lack of sufficient public defenders for in criminal cases, and they have roughly the equivalent of 600 full-time court-appointed attorneys for 75,000 criminal cases a year. And so what's happening is that they are either some of the misdemeanor cases are being dismissed, or sometimes people feel they have to handle their cases on their own. And then there are some felony cases that are being dismissed. So, and then there are others that are just going on way too long. So this has been I don't know if it's a recent problem, but I'm sorry, I don't know if it's an ongoing problem, has been going on for a long time, but it's definitely a recent problem since at least 2020. And so I just see it as, defendants having to not only either represent themselves, but having to be faced with longer cases because there's not enough people to help them with their defense.
Wow, those are some serious statistics there. 650 lawyers, I think you said, public defenders for a population, a caseload of 750,000.
75,000.
That is
75,000.
75,000.
Yeah.
My goodness, yeah. So that's 100 cases a year, roughly over that for each lawyer there. That's a heavy load, and I can certainly sympathize with the people who are having to depend on a lawyer with that sort of caseload. Has got to be very difficult. Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Deborah. As you all know, Who Wrote That Up For You is sponsored by Courtroom 5. At Courtroom 5, we believe the courts belong to the people, in particular to the people who use them. And we, the people, are coming to claim our courts. And so if you are in court without a lawyer, or you have to sue someone and can't retain a lawyer to represent you, get yourself over to courtroom5.com. Try a limited version of our services for free. and we hope to provide some relief for you there. At this time, it's my great pleasure to welcome to Who Wrote That Up For You, Attorney Randolph Frails of Frails and Wilson Attorneys at Law in Augusta, Georgia. Mr. Frails, thank you for joining us on Who Wrote That Up For You.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today and have a few things I'd like to provide for your audience.
Lovely. Fantastic. Well, first, tell us about your law firm. What do you all do there in Augusta, Georgia?
Well, Frails and Wilson has been in service for 25 years. It was started by me. My partner came on in 2006, Mr. Wilson. We do serious personal injury matters, probate matters, and we do real estate transactions. And we have one other area of law. We also represent some local governments as outside counsel. I'm also city attorney for a small city, the city of Waynesboro. And so we have a variety of work that we do, primarily because in a city the size of Augusta with 200,000 people, most firms our size do a variety of issues and not just a singular issue. The firm consists of 5 attorneys and 9 support staff, and we continue to grow. We are hiring another attorney in May when she graduates from law school. We have one other attorney we've already offered a position to come on board. Um, we're predominantly African American firm, but we do have a diverse group of people that work at Frails and Wilson.
25-year-old law practice is extraordinary. I can imagine the variety of work that you all have to do, particularly as an African American oriented firm there in Augusta, Georgia. I know that you all have to be licensed in Georgia, but you're on the border in Augusta, if I've got my geography right. You're on the border of South Carolina. Do you do any work in areas of South Carolina as well?
We do work in South Carolina also. We have 3 attorneys, myself and 2 other attorneys that are licensed in South Carolina. And, we're proud of all the attorneys that we have. We have attorneys that are licensed I have one attorney licensed in 3 states. She's licensed in Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland. I have another attorney licensed in 3 states, licensed in Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia. We have an attorney licensed also in Georgia and Texas, and we actually have went to Texas and performed work out there also. We feel like our firm is just as good or better than most firms you come across that have 5 or 7 lawyers in the firm. And as I said, we continue to grow. We do a variety of work, and I think we do it all well.
It's fantastic. Across those that variety of practice areas, I mean, I imagine in maybe some larger cities, you might find a firm that only does personal injury or only does, I think you mentioned real estate practice, that sort of thing. How do you manage to bridge those various practice areas? Are there I don't know. We're not lawyers, as you understand. So, are there some similarities in those practice areas that sort of help to generalize? Or,
What generally at least one attorney in the firm is capable of working in 2 areas of law. Um, for instance, in the probate matter, a lot of that goes hand in hand with real estate transactions or vice versa.
Mm.
Personal injury, all lawyers love personal injury, so all of the attorneys are capable of doing personal injury. The government work, we have 3 attorneys that do the government work, and I myself, I manage it all. To be quite frank with you, when I started practicing law by myself in 1997, I had to do what came through the door, and that included domestic, criminal work. I've done 2 death penalty cases, lots of murder cases, even though we no longer do criminal work at this time, contract issues. But at some point, as we travel along, we decided we just kind of fine tune ourselves to some specific areas. And we have been able to do that by limiting our practice to probate, real estate transactions, the local government work and serious personal injury matters. Now, there's still occasion we'll have a client that comes in that we've known for a very, very long time, or a repeat client that says, I really, really need you to do this divorce for me, or I really need you to help my child out in this criminal matter. And we'll step up to the plate and we'll do that also. And, we certainly, there's certain things that we don't do at all. We don't do any creditors bankruptcy. We don't do any copyright matters, patent matters. We don't touch some of those things. But when you're in a city the size of Augusta, you're required to do more than just what you would generally do in the practice of law. And we have the resources to do the work. I mean, we have enough support staff. We have enough lawyers with experience as to where we can do other areas if necessary.
That's excellent. And again, as an African American attorney in a region like Augusta, Georgia, I imagine that you are a first resource for many people in the African American community. And so the issues that affect people in the community are wide ranging, and so I think it is important to be able to serve a number of those areas. And let me just switch tracks for just a moment. You've established a firm from just a single attorney, yourself, up to now 5 attorneys and 9 support staff, if I heard you correctly. You will have had to have learned something about running a business along the way in order to grow like that. And I'm let me just give credit. I listened here in Nashville to a brilliant speech by Mark Britton, who is the founder of Avo. Lawyers are familiar with that firm. But he talked to the audience of, primarily lawyers about business strategy, about being able to think like a business person to grow a law practice. And you, of course, have done that. What are some of the things you had to learn to sort of grow a professional practice as a businessman?
Well, the practice of law is similar to other businesses. In other words, even though you may come into this profession with a passion, you have to treat it like a business, and you have to look to the bottom line. You have to look to profitability. Uh, Part of the practice of law is ensuring that you have a structure that is designed to take care of your people, to pay them, and to pay their obligations, their property taxes, not their property taxes, their payroll taxes, the 941 taxes that you would have to pay as a business. You've got to make sure that you do that. And more importantly than anything else, you have to reinvest in your business. You cannot, every fee that you make, you can't take it home. You've got to reinvest in your business. You have to be willing to take some risk. You have to be willing to advertise. It's unfortunate that attorneys do have to advertise, but attorneys advertise, doctors advertise, everyone advertises. And what we have found that businesses that don't advertise, they generally go out of business, especially lawyers that don't advertise. And the most important thing is that you have to treat your business as a business. And what I mean by that is you have to look to the profitability. And there's an old adage for attorneys. You make more money off the clients that you do not accept than the ones that you do. One of the things that you have to do as an attorney practicing law is you have to be able to tell someone no. You have to tell someone that no, either I'm not capable of doing this, okay? No, you do, and I have a claim that I think is worthy of pursuit. And even sometimes when you have clients that have claims that are worthy of pursuit, sometimes you reject clients because they're going to take up more time and more effort than the case is worth. And so you have to be selective in the clients that you take, because a client the client thinks that's the only case you have. and they'll call you 24/7, and they'll distract you from other cases that you have. So you have to be mindful of the client that you take in this business. And the other thing, I think the most important thing about running a law practice and making it grow is treating your people right. Okay, treating your fellow attorneys right, paying them what they're worth, making them feel that they have value, making them feel that when they wake up in the morning that they want to come to work. And the same thing with support staff. We offer a 401k. We pay 75% of healthcare costs to our employees. We do a 401k matching where we match 4% of their salary after 90 days of work. We give vacation time. Uh, we we treat them like we value them. We value our employees more than anything else. And when you treat employees right, you can generally, your business can be successful.
That is absolutely right.
Mm.
I can, I'm in accord with you on that for sure. Let us, I just want to thank you. We'll take a quick break and then bring you back. But I wanted to just thank you. You know, we've spoken with a number of lawyers on Who Wrote That Up For You, but we've rarely had a chance to speak with an attorney who is managing and running a law firm. And so appreciate this insight into the operation of the firm. So we'll take a quick break and bring you right back to get some of that advice for regular consumers.
All
Fascinating
right.
conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Deborah, who won our quiz on Friday, if anyone? And what do you have teed up for us today?
We did have the question was, what must you prove in a motion for summary judgment? And the answer is a successful motion for summary judgment, evidence on the record. That means that evidence that's been filed in the clerk's office that proves that there is no genuine issue as to material fact and that the moving party is entitled to judgment as a matter of law. A material fact is a fact that is relevant and that goes of the case. And the winner is Rasha B.
Congratulations
Okay.
to Rasha there.
And today's quiz, provide two examples or scenarios of breach of contract. Provide two examples or scenarios of breach of contract. If you want to participate in this quiz, send your responses to quiz@courtroom5.com.
Looking forward to seeing those scenarios for sure. That's a great. I just wanted to comment quickly on that summary judgment question. That one is tough for sure, but so important. I know we know from hearing so many of our customers that that summary judgment procedure is one of the most difficult for people to undergo, and so good to get some advanced information out there about that. Let's bring back attorney Randolph Frails. Thank you again, sir, for joining us. Let me now ask, I imagine, particularly again, serving a predominantly African American community, that there are issues of wealth in our community that we're familiar with, but that somewhat limit your ability to serve everyone because of, they aren't able to retain a lawyer in general. What do you do when you have folks who come to you for in need of legal assistance and you can't serve them in that way?
First, let me just say this, and you've heard this many times before, but we need to say it again to make sure that people understand. There's a saying that goes, a man that or a person that represents themselves, okay, they've got a fool for a client. Okay, in other words, if you can hire a lawyer, you should hire a lawyer. It is really, in my opinion, not a good idea for people to generally go to court by themselves. However, there are going to be times where your case doesn't make sense to hire a lawyer due to the amount of the claim or the economics of your condition uh, will not allow you to hire a lawyer. Um, I would like to just chime in a little bit about what Ms. Sloan said earlier about lack of public defenders. The lack of public defenders, and you should never have a criminal case beyond especially beyond a traffic ticket. You should always have a lawyer, whether or not it's a public defender or whether or not it's a hired lawyer. Public defenders are great. They are very serious people about their jobs. A lot of time people say, "Oh, I don't want a public defender." Well, a public defender, most public defenders take their job very, very seriously. The biggest problem with the lack of public defenders is the lack of pay, in my opinion. When public defenders are at the low end of the totem pole when it comes to pay, along with district attorneys that are coming out of school, you saddle that. Most people graduate from law school have over $100,000 in student debt. So they don't want to be public defenders making somewhere between $50,000 to $70,000 a year starting when they got over 100,000 in student debt. So it's difficult to fill that public defender slot, not only in the state that you were talking about, but that's an issue all over the country because of the low pay. But there are occasions, getting back to the issue that you brought me on to talk about, there are occasions where, you just can't afford to hire a lawyer or it doesn't make sense. I'm going to give you some example. Auto repairs,
Mm.
a bad repair and you want to take the mechanic to court. Okay. Most attorneys won't take it. They feel like it's a loser in a lot of occasions, so they don't want to take it. Plus, the amount of the repair is probably less than or equal to the fee that the attorney would charge you to go to court. Then you have landlord-tenant issues. If you're the tenant and if you're not staying in housing, where public housing, if where you could get an attorney from through public assistance, but if you're a private tenant and you have landlord tenant issues, generally the amount of your claim is less than what the attorney would pay. Home repair disputes. Guy comes out and works on your air conditioner and the air conditioner still doesn't work,
Mm.
comes to fix your refrigerator. The refrigerator's not fixed, and you want to take them to court. You've done everything you can, and you want to take them to court. And naturally, and there are times when you should take them to court. No doubt about it. You should just let that claim go. But the cost of hiring an attorney would probably deter you, and so you got to go to court yourself. And when you're going to court yourself, you need to think about the jurisdictional limit of the court. Most of these claims are what we will call a magistrate claims or small claims. Small claims court is another name for it, magistrate court. Generally, those courts are of limited jurisdiction and amount. In Georgia, the maximum you can get in small and magistrate court is $15,000. In South Carolina, the maximum you can get in their magistrate court or small claims court is $5,000. So these are limited amounts. And so when you go to court and you file your claim, you want to make sure that you are quite succinct in your facts. You got to remember, you're not the only one that's going to be in court. The judge is not interested in and what you and your mama talked about the night before. All they want to know is tell us about your claim and how you are harmed. And so you need to be very succinct. The less extemporaneous you are, the more succinct you are in what you tell the court, the more the court is going to listen to you. You got to bring some evidence to court too. Evidence is the way you prove your case. If you don't bring any evidence to court, if you got witnesses, the court's not going to want to hear want you to bring in a written statement. They're going to want those witnesses to come to court. so the court can examine them and talk to them and find out what they said. So you can't have your best friend who watched the guy repair your refrigerator and screw it up, write a statement and bring it to court. You can't do that. You got to bring your friend to court if your friend's going to testify. If you got repairs and you had the repairs fixed after the first individual screwed it up, you need to bring the repairman who did it correctly to court. And you can either do that by them voluntarily coming to court or coming to court under a subpoena. Small claims courts will issue a subpoena. Your demeanor and your attitude can have an impact on your case. Uh, Come to court addressed appropriately. This is a business matter. Okay. If you attend church or you attend formal ceremonies, just think about it as being some type of formal process where you really need to put on your best attire. I'm not telling you you need to cut your braids off or anything like that, but don't come to court with 6 nose rings. Just think about who you're in front of. You're going to be in front of a judge, okay? And a judge is going to be making his decisions, and he's not only judging what you bring to court, the impact of how you present it can determine how they rule. And that's just the reality of it. It may not be what you anticipate, but think about you're coming pleading, and that's a term that we use. Another term would be begging. You're coming to court asking them to rule in your favor. If you're asking them to rule in your favor, you should always put forth your best behavior. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you are always respectful to the court. Be respectful. Understand that this individual can make a decision either for you or against you. So you should always come to court and be respectful to the court. Uh, Evidence, being respectful, make sure you get to court on time. Okay? Don't get caught on time, your case might get dismissed. Okay, so if you got to be at court at 8:30 in the morning, okay, try to get there about 8:10. That's why you're early. I've been to court so many times and seen people case get dismissed and they walk in a half hour later and the court says, "Oh, we dismissed your case. We signed it for you. You weren't here." Uh, those are the things that I would suggest that you do. Uh, what I also would suggest is that in criminal cases, uh, unless it's a traffic violation that may not put a whole lot of points on your license, but when we get to reckless driving, we get to DUI, if we get to excessive speeding, things of that nature, you need to have an attorney to help you navigate through that process. You really, really do, because there's some long-term consequences to some penalties that you will receive regarding those type matters. Um, I know you don't want to go to court by yourself, but when you do, and you have to do, and if you have to, make sure you're respectful, make sure you bring sufficient evidence to court, make sure you get to court on time, make sure that you stick to your case and prove your case in that manner. Uh,
Extraordinary.
I don't know anything else I can say other
Nope,
than
you said
uh,
it.
this is not specific advice to any specific person. Okay?
Always good disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Always good disclaimer. That's great. Listen, I'm going to put your website, Mr. Frails, on the screen for folks that want to reach out for you. You serve people in the Augusta, Georgia, Savannah River region. Is that correct?
This what we call the CSRA, which covers several counties in the Augusta area. But the truth of the matter is, have gun with travel. The price is right. We'll 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 go anywhere if
Yep.
necessary. Uh, I mean, we will.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I, I,
Okay.
I really appreciate you, as I said, joining us and sharing the process of building a profitable law firm, continued success in the work and in serving the community there. We will continue to track your progress and maybe have you on back here. But just wanted to thank you for joining. Who wrote that up for you today?
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Fantastic, fantastic discussion there. I think we absolutely want to hear from more advocates
Yes,
like that who are serving community in particular, doing the best they can with particularly with some of the economic conditions that folks are dealing with. It's very generous of Mr. Frails to share that wonderful advice for people who have to go into court on their own.
absolutely.
That's all we have for you today. I'm getting back to my friends here in Nashville at CleoCon, and we will all see you again on tomorrow. But, thanks again for everybody listening in.
Are you feeling beleaguered, angry, or afraid, as if things are spinning out of control and you're powerless to stop them? It's easy to just let things slide and hope they don't get worse. But they often do get worse. The thing is, you're not powerless. Our courts belong to us, and their purpose is to give power to the powerless. Don't let your grievances pile up without redressing them. You can handle this in court. Or, if someone takes you to court, you can take them to school.